real soup for the soul moment going on up in here. But I love soup, so why is that a bad thing? Sup kids, how are you today? I've had better days. It's been a long month. I don't know, they added a day to February and all of a sudden it seems like a really long month to me now. I think I've kind of come to that situation where we're just rolling along now. All I'm doing is rolling around. I'm just trying to get through the month. Everyone has a month like that once in a while. It's not really been my month. Ooh, my chair's breaking. Yeah, it's not really been like my month. It's just been tiring. I've been drained through most of it, and I've had headaches and migraines. I've been sick, and just trying to keep on track with things. And it's a big month for me. I mean, I had my book launch. I'm recording this in February. You probably won't see it till March now. But yeah, I'm kind of just trundling along with it, just getting through, and it doesn't really get me down. It's more like inconvenience than anything else. It's more like I've kind of sat there and gone, oh, yeah, so here's another thing, and here's another thing, and that's draining. And I understand how that gets to people, and I understand how that does depress people. It never really depressed me to an extent where I'm completely drowning in sadness or anything like that. It's just inconvenient. That's all it is. It's just kind of one of those things. I'll give you an example. So I've been running quite a lot, and I broke my treadmill. So that was a thing, which is obviously, that means I've got to return it, and it means I've got to get a new one, which is a lot of effort. It also means I'm not running as much because the weather's been terrible, and also then being tired in general has forced me to stop running a little bit so I can actually take care of my body. And it's those little things which pile up. And then doing the book launch, there was a bunch of issues which kind of came up prior to that, which was getting the stuff out. Like the enamel pins I ordered didn't come on time because of a factory shut down because of the fucking coronavirus. Yeah, you see what I mean? There's a lot of things which have kind of just come into display this month, but it got me thinking. As things do when you reflect on a month and you reflect on your life, of why these things were so inconvenient to you. A lot of the times it's just minor things. It could be little things like the car breaking or losing something which you kind of misplaced. I haven't found my gloves in months, by the way, and it's freezing outside. I'm really, really fighting against buying new gloves because I know I own like 6 pairs at this stage. I've got like 6 pairs of gloves and I can't find a single fucking one. Either way, but I kind of wondered why these things affect us so much, and it kind of played into something which I've thought about before. And it's come up to a few times in the last few months. Wow, that wasn't even really a sentence, was it? That was just mumbled words which kind of fell out of my mouth. Most of these podcasts are. That's the beauty of them. That's the beauty of these podcasts. Aiming for just coherent is essentially the role. But how we structure our lives and how people go about their lives is they set themselves a goal, or there is some sort of goal, whether that is just staying alive and being financially sound in order to not starve to death, or to have a roof over your house, or to have a family, or to succeed in your career, or to do anything like that. Everyone sets a goal, and it might be like a small goal, like this month I want to do this, or this month I want to do this. And they aim for that goal and structure everything else around it. So anything which inconveniences from that goal is an inconvenience. And the bigger the goal, the bigger the inconvenience. Fairly simple way of putting it. I imagine most people would know that that's how most people live their lives. Even if you're drifting, even if you kind of feel like you haven't got an aim in life, you still have an aim. You still got little things in your life you have to do. Otherwise you won't be part of society and won't really exist for yourself, even if it's just getting sleep. These are things you can't really control. There's a goal even if there's no goal, because the goal is to have no goal. Circular logic, going around in circles. But I have been a moron more than once in my life. I'm 30. I've had 30 years of idiocy in order to get to this point. But there's an idea in my head which every so often I have to remind myself that I'm doing it again in order to avoid huge disappointment. And the idea is this view of aiming for perfect. By which I mean, people have their lives. I have my life. And you have a goal in your head, and you set it, and you think, okay, I'm going to aim for this. And then once I have this, life will be great. Life will be perfect. Life will be everything I've wanted it to be. There's some perfect key which unlocks and goes, yes, that's the one. That's what I'm missing in my life. They're searching for purpose. It's that perfect purpose. Even if it's just something minute, like, I'm unemployed and I'm living on the street. Okay, so getting a house and getting a job, that will be the perfect. But then you get there and is it? Oh, if I have a family and, they grow up strong and healthy and I get married and do all these things, and then life will be perfect and I'll own my own house. And is it? Can you aim? What? No, that doesn't make sense. And it's strange that I've got this thing in my head which kind of forces me to do it, because when I create work and when I make art, I'm never aiming for perfect, because I don't believe it exists. I see every single project, regardless of when I put it out, as an ongoing process, as an organic, therapeutic situation where I'm creating work to push ideas and meanings into the world, but all of those ideas and meanings are contextually based, so they will constantly forever change. Therefore, the meaning of the work will forever change. Therefore, the work will forever change. And yet, within my own life, when it comes down to the grit and mortar and the house and the table and the coffee I'm drinking, I'm because it's more physical, because it's right there, I aim for so much perfect. I'll give you another example. So, this will bring back into my treadmill. Prior to Christmas, I made 3 large purchases. 3 large purchases, which I may have talked about before, but I'm going to talk about again. And those were my treadmill, a bread maker, and a robotic vacuum. These were all treats for me, because I don't really spend money on myself. Look at me, trying to justify it. I'm still not happy with the fact that I spend money on it. I'm still trying to justify why I did. Can't even mention it without going, because they were treats for myself. Like anyone's going to question it. Like anyone's going to come into the room and say, Graham, why the fuck did you buy these things? No, they're not, because I can. I'm self-defeating. Either way, so I made these 3 large purchases, and in my head, there was a moment of, once I got these things, I got my treadmill, which means I can continue my exercise, continue doing my couch 5K thing. In my own home, which means I never have to worry about weather. Therefore, I have achieved baseline perfect. Bread maker. I have been trying for ages to get off store-bought bread, because for ages and ages and ages, I feel like bread is just a vehicle to get butter and other ingredients into my mouth. And I hated that. It was basically like, great, you could basically just put this on a front cover of a hardback book, serve me it, and I'd probably eat it as long as the top of that was jam and butter. I'd be all over that. So I wanted to change that. I wanted to make more bread more significant, because I eat a fair amount of bread. So I bought a bread maker so I can make my own bread. And I haven't bought bread since I got it. Essentially, I just make a loaf of bread a week. Therefore, I have achieved another baseline level of perfect. The robot vacuum. I live alone, so chores are a thing, and vacuuming is one thing I don't really do very often, because I live alone and because I don't really notice when there's an accumulation of dirt or dust, on the floor at least. So I was like, I'll get a robot vacuum, that'll solve all those problems. And I got all 3 in the same week, and life was good. And all but the bread maker so far I've had to return, fix, solve in one way or another, and disrupt said baseline perfect. And each time it happened, I got a nice slap in the face and a reminder from myself that aiming for perfect is fucking stupid. You can't aim for perfect. There is no perfect. There's no edge. This means nothing, Lebowski. There is no edge, there's no perfect, there is nothing there to say once you have this. And it's not even purchases. Like, that's obviously a huge consumer model situation of how you might achieve happiness, and how some people do go through life achieving happiness. If I buy a certain bag, if I wear a certain jumper, if I do fast fashion or anything like that, that's how it kind of fits in. But it can be for anything. Learning a new skill, learning a new language, learning anything. Once I've achieved that, great, life will be great. Once I've got my teaching degree, everything will be great because I'll do the teaching. I'll do exactly what I do. The amount of people I've met who have a teaching degree who don't teach is insane. The amount of people I've met who have a degree of any sort who don't do anything with the degree which they achieved is insane because they realised after a while that isn't what they want to do. I mean, I'm no exception. I have a degree in contemporary lens media. It gets brought up quite a lot on podcasts. Apart from doing this little podcast, I do not use that video tool. Apart from like individual freelance projects. I am not in the media production world. I don't do wedding photography. I'm not a fine art photographer as much as I'd like to be. I just kind of end up in that situation. I'm like, okay, great, so now I'm doing this. You aim for perfect so often because you think having that goal will solve all issues, and it won't. It really won't. And I'm not saying don't set goals because of it. I'm just saying have a healthy outlook on it. A healthy outlook to me is thinking, right, once I've done this, what's next? What's my next step? What's the next goal? And by that sense, I will probably never, ever be fulfilled in my entire life. I remember ages ago, I had a conversation with a partner at the time, and the question was whether I'd ever be truly happy. And to be honest, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever be truly happy. I don't know if I'll ever be truly content. I'm fairly content right now, doing what I do, making what I make. But achieving that perfect level of contentment, I don't think, no, because why would I? What would be the point in life if I didn't feel challenged? I wouldn't really see one. Again, my attitude to creating work is much more healthy than my attitude to creating life in general. That's a nice Freudian moment. I just say you can't aim for perfect, and I've been trying to aim for perfect on too many occasions. I think maybe even example, take it back to the podcast I did with Janine. Obviously, me and Janine, we were partners for a long time. And even when we were together, I was aiming for perfect. We were together, things were great. So you ignore everything else in order to focus on what is good. And therefore you think, oh, well, okay, if things go wrong, it doesn't matter because if we buy a house together, if we get a dog and we kind of just live and things will work out because that's the baseline perfect. We've already achieved perfect by being together, so we need to add to that perfect. Ignoring that the world is chaotic, ignoring that the world changes and people change, and as we discussed in that, personalities change and things drift. Ignoring all of that for some reason, I just can't get that through my head, and I think it is that physical tactility to life which is causing that. And I kind of want to encourage people to never aim for perfect. Aim past perfect. That should be the message. Don't aim for your dreams, aim past your dreams. That's a great, isn't that a great line to tell the world, teach kids? We teach kids all these things. There's so many messages for them. Don't eat yellow snow. Don't put forks in electrical sockets. But you tell them to aim for their dreams. My school, which I went to in Scunthorpe, their motto was aiming high, or aiming higher. I can't quite remember. And it just kind of disturbed me. It disturbed everyone. One, because it was the most campy slogan you could slap onto a school. It's like overly motivational for a school in the north of England full of steelworkers' children. Aim high is not something. It's like, I get why you do it, and I get why a counsellor would want to slap that on a wall, but no, terrible. But you slap on this goal and go, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do where do you want to go? And your kids say, oh, I want to teach. I want to be a sports personality. I want to go out and save the world. I want to save the planet. And it's like, cool. That's a pretty specific goal. What if you teach them to aim past that? What if you teach them to have an end goal which doesn't result? And it's like, cool, that's great. And then you can go on and do this. Hey, I want to be an astronaut. Fantastic. You could be an astronaut. Go out and be an astronaut. Train to be an astronaut. And then once you are an astronaut, you can improve the life on Earth by doing this, this, and this, because you could study science and do all. And I feel like we're crushing too much to one singular endpoint when the world doesn't have a singular endpoint. Well, it does. It's got the destruction of humanity and the entire solar system. But the societies we've created, society doesn't have an endpoint. There's no endpoint for individuals, apart from death. So why would you aim for a singular endpoint? You wouldn't. You got, if you were at a buffet for your entire life, so you walk into a restaurant, there's a buffet, and this is where you eat for your entire life. You're not going to spend your entire life just eating the chicken, are you? What would be the point? Every once in a while, you'd be like, you know what? There's other things at this buffet. I'm going to try that over there. Maybe I'll pick myself up some noodles. Try a little tofu. Get myself into some palm. There's so many things to try out there to do, and you wouldn't stick to one. And yeah, we are in this world, and yeah, we're vastly going, oh, hey, we need to stick one. I do have a theory about that. As I said, the end point of life is mortality. And that scares people. So they think if they can have a singular goal and achieve that goal, then life will have worth. I don't believe that. I've never felt that. There's nothing in my life I've achieved where I've sat and gone, yep, that's perfect. Even now, so right now I've been doing the book. I've been working on other things, but I'm doing the book. That's what I had to do. So I did that in February. I've been working on that for 3 years. I see that book as an endpoint, but even in the run-up to the book launch, I have been fighting for a week trying to ignore an idea which I've had in my head because I need to focus on the book, because other things are encroaching in. Other things are slowly invading my mind, like some sort of decayed moss, which is slowly eating my brain, because it's itching to get in. It's itching for that front space at the front of the windows where, the curtains are, and I open my eyes and I don't look at a page and see potatoes anymore. No, they want to, something else is trying to get past it, and it's clawing at the back of my skull. Maybe that's why I've had a headache. There is actually just a gremlin living in my head, slowly trying to claw its way out. But this is what I'm saying. There's things which come out of this. You get to a point, you're like, all right, cool, I'll have kids. Go out, have your child. Congratulations. Now what? Everything is now what? Everything should be now what? Because if you're aiming for singular points and then you try and maintain that point, you'll never be happy. Never. Things need to evolve. Things need to change. Things need to grow. Aiming for perfect is absolute idiocy. And I'm talking to me more than I'm talking to you guys. This isn't necessarily a podcast for you guys. This is one for me to look at me and go, hey, you're a fucking moron. Stop aiming for perfect. Stop going, oh, hey, found this new thing. This will be the new perfect. No. You don't put that into any of your work. Why are you putting it into your life? You may feel personally attacked by Yelling at Concrete podcast, but please understand that all these views are coming from this. And there's not much you can really do about it. I'm just saying, don't be an idiot like me. Don't aim for perfect when the world is imperfect. It's a huge ball of calamity, chaos, and missed opinions and moments where you could just easily skip over all of them. I think if people are taught earlier on to adapt, remain flexible in their lives, and remain just open to everything, society would just benefit in general. This is the whole thing with kind of politics and people aiming for singular motions and laws, is that it doesn't take into account the rest of the world. A lot of people are trying to go back to what they consider perfect. A lot of people are trying to undo what they consider as damage to their perfect. But the problem is they've aimed for perfect. They've aimed for a singular notion in time rather than thinking, oh, well, tomorrow, whatever happens, whatever could happen. All of this debate about anything is just because people are aiming for perfect. They're trying to find perfect. They're looking for the perfect solution, and perfect solution doesn't exist. Because nothing is static. Nothing is locked in a way which would make any of that matter. I don't know if this sounds depressing. To me, it doesn't sound depressing. To me, it sounds like a challenge. It sounds like something inspirational to do with life. But then to other people, it would seem hugely defeating. I don't know. I don't know if that's the people who listen to this podcast. Do you know? Let me know. Shout out to me. Tell someone on the street. If you're listening to this on the street, just stop them and be like, do you believe in perfect? You might get a date. You might get slapped. You might get arrested. Depends who you slap. But let me know. Maybe this is just me rambling. Maybe this is just me trying to justify myself. I have a rant on myself, as is usually the way. But thank you for listening. I hope you're not aiming for perfect, and I hope you're remaining ever rolling. And I'll talk to you guys later.